Greetings, gentlemen and ladies out there. Coach Clive Maxheath here with this special edition of Men on 4 podcast. My guest on the show today is none other than well-known UK DJ Brandon Block. And before we cut to the interview, I just wanted to give you a little bit of a background on this cat. He's got quite the life story so far. So I'll tell you a little bit about the man in question. So Brandon Block broke through as a DJ as part of the acid house movement towards the end of the 80s / early 90s. And his career took off. He went on to become an international DJ, DJing at various clubbing hotspots, locations all around the world, Ibiza, Las Vegas, Hong Kong, all over the place. But Brandon's hedonistic lifestyle, the way he was living his life, really caught up with him. And in 1996, he actually ended up having to go into rehab / hospitalization, in particular reference to drug addiction and in particular cocaine addiction. And now at around that time, Brandon had a medical review carried out. And the results of that medical review essentially were that if he carried on his lifestyle as it was, he would have anything up to potentially only 2 weeks to live. So thankfully, Brandon got clean. He came out and got back to work, got back to his music as well, and continued to DJ and also produce music. And after his detox there, he went on to achieve numerous successes, including charting a number 3 track with You Should Be, which was a remix of You Should Be Dancing by the Bee Gees. In 2009, Brandon agreed to take part in an anti-drugs campaign for the government. And then on from 2010 to 2015, he worked in a London drug, alcohol and treatment centre as a project worker. He then went on in 2016 to take a job as a project worker working for the NHS, working with people with multiple complex needs. Then at the early 2017, he went into the celebrity Big Brother house. He actually left by his own accord after 10 days, citing in particular some of the baggage of some of the work that he was doing before then, and potentially maybe not clearing that before he went in. So that was one of his other experiences, as well as various other celebrity involved shows. From 2017 to present day, he's been showcasing inspirational people via his Facebook page interviews and by using his Facebook page creation, Happy Days for Everyone. That has since expanded to become the Happy Days for Everyone initiative as a website. And along with continuing to DJ, he now works as a coach / wellbeing practitioner with various initiatives and services, with a focus on improving people's lives and raising awareness around mental fitness and health issues, which obviously with regards to Men on Form and personal development, ticks a box for our show for sure. So that being said, let's get straight to it. Here is Men on Form and an interview with Brandon Block. With no further ado, let me welcome to the show DJ Brandon Block.
Hi, Clive. Hi, Mike. If you're saying you're not there, but hope you're having a good day. Thank you very much for inviting me on, mate. As I say, I popped on yours the other week, and I just liked the look of it and what you were talking about, and so I reached out. And as you do in this world, reach out, and if you don't ask, you don't get. So we both reached out actually, and managed to get in contact with each other. So.
Yeah, we connected. There was definitely some resonance around, in particular, sort of mental health and personal development, which I'm sure, we will get onto. But before we sort of get into the sort of guts of the interview, Brandon, it's currently 26th of May, just after 1,200 hours at the moment. The country's creeping out of lockdown. Just want to check in. How are you doing? How are you coping with this period? What's going on in your life at the moment?
Well, look, I'll be honest with you. I'm not a great one for say conspiracy theories or political debates. However, I mean, this morning's show I did with, my friends Dave Durrell, Graham Park, and Ricky Morrison.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of us have opinions about, because I've been doing this show for like 2 months now, I think, every day.
Yeah.
And the idea was, when I first started it, I mean, I was sitting at home thinking, it's nice to have a bit of downtime, but I'm also, I don't want to get out of the routine of doing something on a daily basis. I don't want to just sit there and watch Netflix all day, because it will just completely defeat all the sort of work I've done, moving forward, which I think, that it tends to go into the self-development world, that sort of creating routines and structures again, in a very stressful and time-consumed world.
Okay.
So, we discussed, the latest, what's goings on, let's say, in the world of COVID-19 management.
Yes.
By the very misguided government, I think. And what do you say? Look, Clive, I'm sure someone like yourself who's done work, and for me, luckily enough, I have a mechanism to be able to say, look, I can't change anything about this. What can I personally? I could speak out, but I mean, in theory, I can't change anything that's already done.
Yeah.
We
okay.
know that. Yes, we can. You have an opinion which you're entitled to, and whether it falls on deaf ears, which it most probably does and often does.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it boils down to what we ourselves are able to manage.
Yeah.
On a daily basis, and that is us, and hopefully not managing the people around us, being able to support the people around us as best we can, and to the best of our abilities. So it's about managing our own physical, mental well-being. Getting
Definitely.
I
mean, one of our shows previous was on Overwhelm, and I just noticed sort of watching your show earlier. You said yourself, you sort of been feeling overwhelmed. I mean, is that mentally? Is that with sort of situations at home, at work?
I think
the whole processing it all, right?
Well, I think that it's not processing. Processing has never been a problem. It's about sitting down. It's about sitting down. And but look, we all have unknown, uncertain moments in our lives, and I wouldn't be human if I wasn't affected somehow.
Yes, that's true.
Or in a way, in a capacity. It's about learning what that experience meant, and was it worth having? Well, look, every experience is worth having in life,
mm-hmm.
Whether it's negative or positive. But it's a learning experience, and they say, look, for me, what this has sort of brought up is that, I don't know if you've noticed, but I mentioned to you last week, and it still hasn't changed. And I don't know the answer. I'm not going to say I know the answer by any means. I don't know how, whether it's me projecting and saying it's because I'm not able to manage. But I think it's expectations. What do I expect of myself?
Okay.
Am I comparing myself to too many other people again? Which, who knows? But I mean, what happened before COVID-19? Right, the world is heading to a big overwhelm. A burnout a burnout en masse.
Yep.
Like a huge burnout, because there was a huge focus on mental health and personal well-being and self-development. And it was, even that was getting, what's the word? Oversaturated.
Yeah.
That world of, life coaching and, all this, that, and the other. And, again, that type of thing was getting overwhelmed. But also the other thing which was really good, which was coming out, was the actual, forgive me, sorry, I'm getting the old sanitizer.
No, I understand, mate.
It's the apparent the rise of support groups, and just,
mm-hmm.
them springing up everywhere.
Yep.
Which is fantastic, because I think that's what the human race had lost on its journey. It's
mm-hmm.
a lot of the connection, a lot of the actual, the true meaning of being a human is connecting to each other, and not demanding or expecting, but just, supporting. Just being in that present moment, and, being, because, I think it's instinctual, and our instincts now are becoming more, let's say, I think we probably lost our instinctual behaviours because we were just so consumed in what the world was doing.
And the individualistic path, and it's about it's about rediscovering sort of old teachings, right?
Simple behaviours, simple, it's back to basics, as we was discussing.
Definitely. Definitely.
And the more people talk about journeys and anxiety, and
Hmm.
you know, and fear, fight, and flight. That would, you know, that has been more. I've noticed that. I mean, I suppose we're going to talk about this anyway, but when I went to
Yeah.
detox in 1996, which is 24 years ago now,
Hmm.
there was no talk of that stuff. There was no
Oh,
talk
okay.
about addiction or problematic mental health or behavior cycles or, you know, bad habits and, you know, changing thought processes and neuroplasticity and none of that. You
No.
just told this set of rules and you were really supposed to abide by them regardless, because that was an old tool that worked. But, you know, the human mind doesn't just stop at that. It's always evolving. So, you know, the
I
more,
totally agree. Yeah, and it's
more we,
also like, I think back then as well was when sort of like mental health was seen as like a very, very small percentage, and that was sort of people in mental homes who were sort of drugged out of their brains to just not, to just almost be at walk in sort of half asleep.
let me
Whereby
clarify.
I think there's now a more of an idea that a more of a concept that mental health is actually everyone's business, right? We've all got mental health at different levels.
I was going to, let me
Um,
clarify. I was going to say for people who I think we've got to reframe that. Mental health, we all have a mental health.
yes.
How well
Yep.
it is, that's all. So yeah, I mean, the stigmatization of mental health back in those days.
Yeah.
Yes, I get you. It was not talked about. It was
No.
very shunned.
Very taboo.
It would
Yeah.
be left for people in mental health hospitals, you know, and psychiatric units and that sort of thing. It would never. They wouldn't open those doors to the people who just walk along the street every now and then, because, you know, that wasn't the done thing. It was, you know, man up, be good. Doesn't matter what's going on for you, you know, just manage it. And
Just
it's
get on with it. Yeah. No,
only
I
more
think that.
recently that all that stuff's been able to be addressed, um, no longer stigmatized, talked about, because, as you know, as you said, it goes back to that instinctually we are fed fear.
Yep.
No, instinctually we're meant to survive and thrive, right? We do that by protecting our family, by getting warmth, by, you know, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, theoretically, which are human needs. So we have significance, we have family unit, we have reproduction, we have food, shelter, warmth, and that's pretty much it to
Yeah.
survive,
Okay. Yeah.
even to thrive. So what's happened is all those normal stressors which we would have had back as a caveman have left us. We don't necessarily have those stressors again, unless you live in, you know, other countries that do have those problems. But
Of
that's the
course.
only
Yeah.
problem they have. You know, that's
Yeah.
they live on as human tribes used to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
So I don't now have to go and sort of kill down, you know, hunt down the deer and kill him. I now pop down, you know, round the corner and get my pick up buy my
get
steak from
stuff
the
from it. You
freezer.
got
And
to
I'm
wait stuff.
vegetarian, so I pick up corn, which is, you know.
Well, I'm veggie now. I haven't eaten meat for over a year and six.
But
When was
yeah.
it? March 15th, 2019. I stopped eating meat.
Yeah.
I'm
So
not.
what's that been replaced with then? What do you?
I'm doing corn. We've got Linda McCartney, Naked Glory. I did have a little bit of fish the other week, so I'm not
Okay.
fully vegan as such. But I don't eat that by any means all week or anything else. I just think I've needed some
No, fair enough. So
vitamins.
sorry, I took you off piste, but back to sort of, so you were saying now those needs are taken care of. What else in terms of those hierarchy of needs? You know, warmth, food, that stuff's dealt with. Then, what's the next step there, and where?
Well, look. It's become apparent to me that this is not unique to me. I've learned this. I've heard it. I mean, I experienced. I'm saying that I have learned it my own way. I sort of, on my journey, although I've discovered a hell of a lot about me and
Hmm.
how I respond. I like to say now, not react anymore. But I suppose when you go through an addiction of some sort, right? And I'm not saying, you know, by any means I don't necessarily believe in that addiction model, because I feel that we do have the power to rewire our minds, creating new neural pathways and belief systems by changing old thought behaviors, which is true. NLP does that. And, you know, you can also do that with just sitting there and having self conversations and saying, look, it's not true, I'm not having it.
Yep.
But they say, and this is some of the stuff is very true, but they say once you've been addicted to something, something that altered my mind so dramatically, which was the amount of cocaine I took, I was like rewiring a whole new brain when I stopped. It was like I depleted most of my normal hormones.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how much. I've never asked the question because, you know, it would probably baffle me. You know, like dopamine, serotonin, you know, oxytocin, all those hormones which you release when you're, you know, feeling happy or mood stabilizing, anything like that, all got completely confused and, you know,
Because of the
depleted.
drugs and the
Yeah,
lifestyle
yeah,
you were
yeah.
living.
And so when I stopped dead.
Yep.
And
Push the
sort of
pause button.
that leaves a jug empty without filling up the new jug. So
Okay.
theoretically, you have instead of like doing it gradually, which is what you do when you rebalance your life, you gradually replace old behaviors with new behaviors until that old cycle is now emptied and you're in a new cycle. That makes
Right.
sense.
Yep.
There's a tool called the cycle of change they use in recovery. It works. Most of the tools you find in Smart Recovery and any other fellowship are pretty fundamental thinking errors. They're how to unravel certain thinking behaviors, thinking cycles.
Unwiring almost.
And unwind them, yeah, exactly. So in real terms, yeah. So I was rewiring me as Brandon, and it was very fearful. I was full of anxiety for years on end. You know, it wasn't like I didn't have that light bulb moment. I had a gradual improvement month by month, and you know, as things were setting, new beliefs and new systems started to set in, I started to rediscover me. I think I'm not sure if I've ever go back to the way I was before all this happened. I don't know.
Quite a chaotic lifestyle by all
Yes,
accounts. Having done a little bit of reading, you're a busy man. Up and down the country, Australia, Hong Kong, Ibiza every summer.
it was
Yeah.
great. Listen, incredible fun, man, like a whirlwind of just non-stop partying and traveling and experiencing just wonderful things around the world, and being able to play music to large crowds and getting you know a fantastic response and people, you know, enjoying what you're doing. So, you know, in all honesty, a very fulfilled life at that time, but you know, not very healthy.
No, yeah, simple maths. So, but yeah, I mean, we are obviously we are going to talk about the future. But before we do, it would be good to go back. And there's something that me and you have in common, mate. Having done a little bit of research, and yes, and that is Burton's menswear. My first job, I was initially work experience, and I was at Burton's menswear in Ilford for 5 years, mate. Folding
No
those
way, because you know what, you're much younger than me.
I'm 38 as we speak, so.
Well, when I worked at Burton's, I don't know if you read that. I was actually a window dresser.
Yes, yeah.
And I used to do the West End, and also like it would have been in the M25 because obviously the M25 wasn't built then.
Yep.
So Ilford was one of the shops I used to do.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Cheap
Yeah,
size.
I was a better behaved employee than you. I wasn't.
I was good as gold then. Well, I started my behaviours then. I think it was. Yeah, no, it was great fun. It was great. I was based at the Tottenham Court Road corner one on Tottenham Court Road, big one.
I know. Yeah.
And then I did Stratford. I did Cheapside. I did Ilford.
Yes.
I remember, man. Oh my god, that's fantastic.
Yeah, man. I'm very good at folding clothes, man. From that.
Well, as a window dresser, you learn to iron things really well.
Yeah, yeah. I used to do some ironing for the window dressing at Ilford as well. I'm a good ironer and I'm a good folder. Know what?
Yeah.
I've folded jeans, mate, nigh on 10, 20 hours a week for about 5 years. So they're all neatly folded upstairs. But
mine was a YTS as well, so I was having a little moment.
yeah, mine was initially got into it through the school. I did 2 weeks in there, and then they took me on a minimum wage 15-year-old, and went on from there. But Burton's menswear. But obviously around that time, you were starting to you're into music, and you were starting to do some DJing, right? And just tell us about that. Like, was there a moment where you like, you know, the light shone down and you were on the decks, and it was like this was my calling, or was it more of a kind of a progressive pathway into DJing?
I think no. I think, you know what? I think the gods maybe came calling. I think there was a moment there was a moment, you know.
Yeah.
The what's the word? The opportunity presented itself.
Yes. Okay.
So whether it was my calling, yes, we're passionate about our music. Yes, we still have our dancing and Thursday night discos and local youth clubs and all that, which was great. So yeah, my sort of lead into music was, yeah, like an epiphany. We were, myself and Ali, my best mate,
Yeah.
we were like drinking our local pub, which we used to do when we were 16, 17, and they used to have a local DJ on a Friday night, used to come and play music, and it was packed. And one week he didn't turn up, and the boss of the pub knew us all. We'd all been in there drinking for years and years. He was like, "No, come on, you lot, go home and get your records. We need some music tonight." So myself and Ali, we went home, got all our tunes, brought them back in milk crates.
Yeah.
And
Called it on.
The rest, as they say, is history, because they, the week after, because everyone obviously knew us, we were there. It was our local, He said, "Right, well, you may as well just carry on doing it," and we did.
Away you went. So
85. This is for irony. Quickly,
go on. Yeah.
the name of our mobile disco. I'll give you a guess. 1985, and thinking about my life as it moved on. Just have a think of it. There's one word which you could describe a musical experience. A musical experience.
A musical experience.
I
don't know. Wembley Way. Wembley Way.
I know. An emotion attached to music, but also the name of something else.
Oh God. I've read this quite recently.
Right, it's ecstasy disco.
That was it. Yeah, I knew it was connected to the drugs. Right, ecstasy disco. You had a van, right?
Yeah, that was in 1985. We had a yellow big comma van, which was fantastic. But we had business cards printed. In fact, I might. It's even got the. I think I've got them here. It's even got a. Yeah, look. It's even got a number without the prefix. We know when they put the 07 and 81s and all that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember.
Look, next to my SHUM membership, it's got.
Back in the day. There you go. Beautiful.
Ecstasy.
So you and your mate Ali get going. You start picking up a regular gig.
Yeah. We end up doing like all the pubs around the for the local the local. So the pub group at the time was called the Pub 80s. It was a group, and those Pub 80s were the first pubs they started playing music in. So they obviously they just asked us if we can travel around. We ended up doing one in Chelsea, Kingston, Richmond, loads of these places. Myself and Ali used to travel to play music on certain nights of the week, which was great.
Yeah. So you're getting around to the local pubs, and then when was the step into the sort of bigger sort of a nightclub? Bigger. I know there's a lot of those organised raves and stuff at that time. When did that happen?
It was actually probably about 86, 87 when there's a club called Hombres.
Okay.
And Hombres was a lovely club in the West End. My mate Johnny Norman was the DJ there. And we used to go there every night of the week at one point. It was so great. But anyway, so that was my experience into nightclubs. But then obviously my mates were starting to go into warehouse parties. I missed a couple of the first ones. And then I sort of thought, I've got to go along. I can't miss it. So I went along and just thought, oh my God, this is me.
Yeah.
And that was like 88. It was one called Hedonism, one called Apocalypse Now, and one called Hair. They're all at Wembley, believe it or not. And they were really, really early ones. And then Sunrise, I got involved with Sunrise, which was a very famous one back in the day. So yeah, and then from then on, I drove everyone mad until I got on behind the decks and said, look, I play music. I want to play this music. Can you let me play? And then
force the issue. So it's like a compound effect here, right?
Yeah.
At what point did the drugs come into play? Obviously,
probably. In '88, it was the first experience of an ecstasy pill.
Okay.
It didn't take me long to embrace that whole experience and then continue to the rest of it, basically. I was just actually still surprised to this day that it was such a quick journey into the madness, which it was, and then to the worst place after that. Not just about then obviously addiction and problematic and problematic use, which was horrendous. And then the existence, it was just, I was existing. I wasn't living, I was existing on this whole, life becomes a behavior and a routine. So my routine had become that, and it was just very dangerous and very mind bending. I can't, for want of a better explanation. So yeah, look, I'm very grateful every day that I do not do that and haven't done it.
Side.
Many years, which is great.
So the drug addiction's obviously increasing, it's compounding, it's becoming a habit, and it's
back then it was happening really quick. So obviously I wasn't aware of what was underneath, and I still don't know to this day really if I was traumatized massively. I think there's a few things at the time which contributed to my want to be outlandish and accepted or whatever it was, or created a mask. I think being bullied at school was a first catalyst to for me to create the alter persona of Blocko the Madman.
Yeah, okay. The mask.
Yeah, the mask. And I did what I did, I think, to survive or to get along, or what I felt was needed at the time. So I don't beat myself up for that. I think I did what I did. I'm still here today.
You are alive. We're grateful for that. And I mean, there's loads of events we can talk about. And if this is really sort of sparking your ears, you're interested, check out Brandon's book, his biography. There's some great stories in there and details of this. But one I do want to draw an attention to, particularly because it's become so iconic in the clubbing world, is Space, and obviously is the balcony at Space. And how?
What did I do at the balcony?
Well, that was the. Sure, you back in on that, but you and Alex became sort of renowned for that.
The Terrace, you mean
the Terrace? Sorry, I've called it the balcony. There you go.
No, yes.
The Terrace.
Did I throw myself off the balcony at Space? I know we did. He did in the beach across the road from that.
I know you went off a ship in Hong Kong. But,
I did some mad stuff.
This middle class of me. Let's say the Terrace, the famous Terrace at Space, how that come about and how that developed into sort of like a...
So basically back here in 1988, 89, obviously Ibiza was being spoken about a lot, and Danny Rampton, because the club Schumann, Spectrum and Rage and Loud Noise and all these clubs which had opened up on the back of Paul Oakenfold and Streatham, on the back of Heaven, on the back of the Ibiza trip, the famous five, which is actually Nicky Holloway, Paul Oakenfold, Trevor Fung, Danny Rampton, and Nicky Holloway, Paul Oakenfold, Johnny Walker, had come back from Ibiza and decided that they would embrace the experience they'd had over there and open clubs in London, whereas and all over the north of England, Hacienda, and in Leeds, and in Scotland, and in everywhere, all over the south coast as well, and in Durham, Newcastle, Bournemouth. It just sprung up. It was like
like an empire.
Yeah, it was. Someone lit the fuse, and I don't know where it's lit, in London or wherever, but it just all these little sparks happened everywhere. Myself and my mate Baggy, God rest his soul, he took his own life just after New Year this year, which was a very traumatic time for me. Because this is one thing we're aware of now, and I didn't know, and I beat myself up because I thought I should have known. I should have been there, and I wasn't. And I'd seen him, and it breaks my heart because anyway, bless him. So anyway, so we were travelling partners, and we used to sort of pretty much go everywhere together, and we sort of caused havoc wherever we went. I'd met Alex in London. We DJ'd together. I won't tell you how we met because it's quite.
That's okay.
But anyway, it was quite fun.
Okay.
Anyway, so we met in London. We lost touch again, and then obviously his name was getting synonymous with Ibiza. Alex P's out there. So myself and Baggy said, well, we're going to go and do this because Nicky Holloway was out there. We knew Nicky well. Obviously, we had bars, and we'd been clubbing together now. And then there was friends, Del and Kate, who had bars out there. The Milk Bar actually was in Ibiza. So we decided we'd go out there and try and place ourselves for the summer and get some work. Turned out when we went out there that that would be the most wonderful time to go and do it. So
the
first day
you're on the crest of a wave.
But exactly, but we didn't know idea that was what was going to happen. So the first night we got to found an apartment, went to Cafe Del Mar, met all our friends, started our partying, Met Alex briefly during the day. He'd been on a bit of a mission, so we sort of arranged a meeting the next day. He said, "Come to my club. I'd love you to DJ at my club." And I went, "I'd love to." And so I took my records, went to space, turned up at this incredible open air nightclub the other side of town, in Playa del Bossa. I walked in, I thought, "Oh my God, look at this, how wonderful." And Alex said, "Put your records behind there." And played records all day long, over time at night. And then, basically the club said, "Well, we love this, what's going on. We'd like to employ you, Brandon, as well, so you can work here." So they gave me a social security number, gave me an employment card. And I then went to work with Alex behind Space Bath for the next 5-6 years. And it became so massively popular.
Became
Everyone
iconic,
started staying in on Saturday nights to go out and space on Saturday. And that was it. That was the week. But then what was myself and Alex were the only DJs living out there. And at the time, there was no promoters. So we basically just got given gigs. On the back of Space, we were asked to DJ at every nightclub. So we played at Coup, we played at Pasha, we played at Amnesia, we played at S Paradise, we played at Star, we played at this, and obviously Space. So we were working every single. My moustache is really itching.
I had one before we jumped on.
Oh my God!
It's the lockdown as well.
Yeah, well, I've sort of persevered this time. I've never grown a beard this long, and it's
it suits you, man.
Starting to itch. Anyway, so we end up playing every night of the week at one club or another. That's going to take its toll anyway.
Yeah.
You're partying,
just doing that without the partying's enough.
Without the partying, and then all night long DJing, and you'd be partying in the daytime at the beaches, like playing in Bossa, or down by San Antonio in Kenya, and before Mama was opening in Cafe Del Mar, etc. So it didn't leave much.
Didn't leave much in the tank.
So we carried on, and then obviously I maybe took it a bit further the years down the line, and that's what happened. And thank God I'm here to tell the tale and have a decision to make.
Definitely. Well, let's talk about that, because you've got the compound effect, just the clubbing, all of what you're doing there, and then this growing drugs, alcohol, everything else. You come to a point, you've already touched on this, Capiel Nightingale Hospital in Lisson Grove. At what point was it like, did something drop and you recognised you needed that help?
Well, I mean, look, after the Hong Kong episode and catching, all sorts of illnesses and, life-threatening illnesses as well. I was dying. My body was dying, not only, but my mind was dying, and I was prepared to let that happen. I sort of accepted that was where it was going to be, because I was no way had the capacity, the tools to be able to live without this stuff now. And I sort of realised if I stop, I don't know, the fear and uncertainty would be so overwhelming. I just may as well carry on until I keel over, which didn't happen the way I thought it would. And then I was sitting in the hospital again in an A&E department, waiting for sort of painkillers and downers and uppers and all sorts, not realising what I was doing. Obviously, just taking these pills to counteract the way I was feeling. And my mind just went. I was having a tussle with whatever it was. I can't remember exactly. Well, I can actually. It was like complete full anxiety, and I remember the height of anxiety was. Brain was like, and then my mind just went, "I've had enough." And I remember the 3 words, "I've had enough." It was like a hammer went, and my brain went clunk, clicked into sort of a position of letting go. So all the anxiety, all the thinking, all the bad thinking, negative thinking, just left me for that period, just that 10 minutes and a bit of clarity. I went, "Oh, wow,
just dropped.
Where have I been living for the last 20 years or something, or 10 years?" And at that point, then I made the decision. And although, I did have the weekend before, but I made the decision. I found help. I went to seek help. I went along, and I realised that was what my route needed to be taken.
Yeah.
And then, I continued. I did what they said. I went to the clinic. I checked in on the Monday after the weekend of my last session ever, which I, tried very hard to complete the task I'd originally set out to do. And it didn't happen. So, thankfully.
Still there, you made it there on the Monday.
I made it there on a Monday morning, early. I don't know what I was like then. I was just I was like Tron, Electric Man. Mm-hmm. But, I stayed there, and 3 weeks later, I had a little slip while I was in there, which was sort of, they say that happens type thing. And then and then the next 2 weeks, nothing. And I came out and I sort of became, I was there, new.
Like an empty bottle.
The empty bottle needed to rewire.
Rebuild, rewire.
Needed some soldering on the old neurons and I suppose without knowing all this stuff, that's what I started to do.
Yeah,
Started to rewire myself, because it was, every single task was anxious for me, because I'd never done anything without the drugs to support me, or not for the last 10 years. So answering the telephone, going out a door, getting in a car, speaking to people, all those skills I'd lost as an,
Yeah, what does that look like without drugs, right?
Yeah. And it's scary.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
When you're 30 years old and you're reliving that whole youth, you're learning again. It's scary, man. Christ, it's so, and the anxiety is so overwhelming, because it's just powerful. But I learned so much from it. So I'm aware now of my anxiety when I get it, if I do. I mean, I don't suffer the way I used to, thank God. I mean, I get scared for the right reasons.
Yeah, understand. Again, you have a relationship to it now.
Exactly, and I'm aware of it when it happens, and I can make decisions about how I think to be able to change the environment, change the strategy, change my state. Which again, and in these current times, I have to catch myself, because before I go into these uncertain thinking modes, and what's going to happen, but again, I've learned tools to do it, and
that's what I mean. Yeah, I mean, you looking sort of, this is where it sort of comes full circle. So you started to sort of rebuild your life without drugs and rewire and do all that work, and then you find yourself into working with people that are going through some of those challenges, right? So you became a drugs and was it drugs and alcohol, or drugs worker?
Yeah, I became a project worker in a drug and alcohol service, which with a friend of mine who was very supportive at the time. I learned a lot of training, which I thought assumed I'd already known, but I didn't. So I was very fortunate enough to get city and guilds and various practitioner certificates under my belt. And I worked with people because I realised that my experience was helpful.
So you found a sort of a passion. You had a drawing to then serve in respect of what you learned and your experience, and give back, I suppose, in some way.
Innately, we're humans, and to lose that contact, to have an experience which you can then impart on, or suggest, or even explain about to people.
Yeah,
it's fantastic, because one little nugget of information may change someone's life. It may be maybe the catalyst they need to change something which has been troubling them.
Yeah, so you've gone on to that work, and then you've got that background, and then obviously into sort of personal development, sort of wider work. I've had we've talked about your Happy Days initiative. Tell us a little bit more about that. I mean, that's a live initiative that's happening now. What the vision is for that piece of work, because that's a wider piece, isn't it? Not just around, not purely addiction. That's a
no.
piece. It plays into what we were talking about in regards to everyone's got mental health. Everyone's got.
Sorry, mate. That's so basically on my journey, and when I finished with the NHS, which was a very demanding role, I learned a lot about myself in that role, but it was supporting very, 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 very vulnerable and entrenched behavioured people with multiple complex needs.
Right.
So we didn't get supported. I came out of there, but then went to the Celebrity Big Brother house, which I'm sure you're aware of.
Yeah.
And it was after that experience, which didn't go too well for me, probably the wrong timing. I came out, and I needed to get to a place of self-development, because I was emotionally drained, and I did that by immersing myself in that world of personal development, and I like to call it self-development myself, because it's very corporate, that personal development world. But even self-development. So and I met some fantastic people. One of the people I met was Carl Pearsall, who actually was back in the day. He was the guy who gave me my first DJing gig in a house.
Oh, there you go. There's some synchronicity for you. Okay.
Exactly. He runs the Yes Group, which is the big personal development group in London.
Yep. Well, we're checking out. Yeah.
And I never actually realised what it was until I spotted it. I saw, and we used to train together in the gym. And I said to him one day, he said, "Look, come along to my group." And it was only till what I heard about it, and I thought, "Oh my God, this is what you do." And we turned up. He coached me for a little bit of time, and then I developed my own sort of used my experience in coaching, let's say, which is, you know, to help people, you know, with more people with drug and alcohol stuff. But also, you know, life coaching. I've been life coaching for like 8 years without having a qualification necessarily for life coaching, but, you know, using my other skills which I learned to help people change their lives and see their own strengths, which is it's the same thing. It's just a different environment. Anyway, so after that, then, you know, I started working on myself, and, you know, I got introduced, Carl introduced me to a lot of really cool people in that world. And one of the people I met was Michelle Allen. She's fantastic. And Gaynor Murphy. And we sat in my little man shed, as you can see, and we spoke about...
Is that a man cave? Is that a man cave there?
More like a shed.
Man shed.
Man shed. And we spoke about how our experiences could change people's lives by using the internet. And I started doing this from Facebook Lives myself, just talking to people. And, you know, we came up with this thing that, you know, if we change little very small behaviors regularly, create new behaviors, but we also change your outlook and your mental, your neural pathways. Yep. And over time, you won't resonate at the same level, and different things. If you can manage the worst things by changing the way you think about them, you'll be able to manage a lot more. Cool. And be happier on a day, you know, on a regular basis. So you don't, not necessarily every day you're going to wake up and be ecstatically happy, but over time, if you just compare yourself to when you were 6 months before, and you see how much happier you are then. So we did that on Facebook, Happy Days. I've also just had my app, which I designed 6-7 years ago, called Get Well Together. And my app was on idea that by using the technology wisely, you could create, and using the criminal justice system, you can create a recovery model which is in your hand, which means that people who actually find it hard to engage in services can engage on the app, and it gets reported by data collection. And that's, in theory, anyway, it was a great, good idea. But now, more recently, since COVID, we've been asked, and we've designed it for someone. So that's another project.
That's sort of, I mean, it's this COVID thing is rapidly speeding up certain projects. Particularly the evolution of how we're communicating, particularly with video conferencing and uses of apps, like you said, about these ways that it's something you can have with you. I recently did a course in something called Positive Intelligence, and the whole thing was done through an app. And I do some regular exercises. I did one just before jumping on here, and it's with me all the time. And that can be incredibly powerful, like you say. I mean, especially as guys, we don't always find it easy to engage directly with services or groups or coaches or whatever in that way. So it's a great sort of way of getting to people, getting to a certain type of person that might otherwise not engage, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It makes sense. It's it's used for the right way. If we're actually not judging and comparing ourselves, which is often what we do on using, social media stuff, which was the problem I think we was coming up against, and use it now for just connection and not judging. It's a great way to be using that stuff,
Definitely. And it's, as I say, it's the old learnings, but in a new form, right?
Yes.
So brilliant. You got time for a few questions?
Of course, I
mind for your time. Yeah, because I've got a couple of my South London. I'm from East London originally, but based South London. A couple of South London's mates that are DJs said I was having you on, and got a few questions for you from them. So first one's from my mate Steve. He was on my NCT course. He's got a little boy like same age as mine. So we met there, him and his partner Vicky, and he's one half of the DJ twin partnership Page and Page.
Right, yeah.
At Page and Page on SoundCloud. He said he's DJ'd alongside you and your partner in crime, Alex P, in the past.
Yep.
And he says, what's the strangest / funniest thing you've ever been asked by a punter whilst behind the wheels of steel?
Oh, what's the strangest thing I've been asked?
Or funniest?
I mean, but people come up that to have asked funny things. Not, I suppose if I'm looking at it and they're meaning it, I don't know what would be the funniest thing. Look, I'll tell you what was a very nice thing that people say. I'm not saying strangest or funniest, but it was quite a shock. And this was many years ago. I had two people in the same night in Leeds come up to me and say, "We've named my son after you," twice in the same night. So
What, two different sons or what?
Well, two different sons. No, two different.
Oh, and the two different families have named their sons after you in the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was in one night, and I was taken aback. But a funny thing that, I mean, if you want a funny story that happened beyond the decks once, was I actually fell asleep during mid-mix.
How did that play out?
I'm talking about sitting on the floor, laying down, falling asleep for about 6 or 7 minutes on a long mix record, and someone kicking me in the back, getting up and mixing in the next record.
Nice, and you recovered it, right?
Recovered it.
Power out, beautiful. Can't teach it, Brandon.
Yes.
Cool, thanks.
it was a very strange experience.
And, I've got another one. Any tips for up and coming DJs of tomorrow? One thing to do, not to do, based on your experiences, you know.
Well, I mean, look, at the moment, it's very, very, obviously, we know, look,
different
I'm
game.
not going to sound all down about it.
No.
I think, I think the fact that if you stay passionate and your music is your passion, if you can be sure that music is your passion, and you will find a way to become successful at it. And I think what you really have to be doing is producing your own music.
Yep.
You have to be doing that. You have to be very active on social media.
Right.
And the more music you produce, the more it will get recognized. So I think you have to be it's like anything you put your effort into. If you're passionate about it and you have focus and it's valuable to you, it means something to you, you'll get there and you'll be able to achieve all you want to do, all you want to do. And having an ability to be able to navigate around the stumbling blocks or the
barriers to entry.
The barriers that come up against you. Just in these current times, I think this current climate, learning to manage these changes as they happen will give you great tools, enabling you to overcome certain doubts you may have about yourself. And don't have any doubts, just go for it. Just go for whatever you want to go for. It's a new playing field, so who's going to stop you?
There you go. Good advice. And one more from my mate Donny. I used to work with. He's at Donny Lad on SoundCloud. Loves his house music. Do you have a definitive dance track that had a massive influence on your career as a DJ? Is there still a track that still feels as fresh as the day you heard it?
Oh man,
I know you've got a list there.
Well, look, you know what? I've got a list of certain records which really. I mean, but I'm not saying that there's not one originally. I mean, all those acid tracks albums. Dub Love, Master C and J was, oh my God, you have to listen to that tune. Master C and J, Dub Love.
Okay.
There was a couple of Balearic tunes, there was a couple of new Belgian new beat records, but my history is sort of soul and funk, really, and house. I mean, look, there's a few tunes. One that really sort of epitomizes my club experience and having a record resonate at all levels and take you on a journey is Lil L-I-L
okay.
Mo Yin Yang, which is, I think it's actually Eric Murillo.
Okay.
The guys of Eric Murillo's, and the tune's called Reach, and it's his Drones mix.
Cool. I'm gonna check that out off the back of this.
Drones mix. It might be the Drones mix. It's one of the mixes, but it's it's got the breakdown. Anyway, it's one of those records, and if you have a moment and hear it, and you're just immersed in that moment, you'll get it.
Oh man. Okay.
All right. That's a real old. Yeah, there's so many, mate. So many.
We'll take that one. And then there's one from me. It's a personal development one. Obviously, this is the Men on Form podcast. What is the one thing you engage with to stay on form? A habit or something you do every day to keep you sort of grounded or on track?
Well, as you mentioned at the moment, and look, I've been very good. I've had days when I haven't been great, but I haven't beat myself up for it because we're human. And although to go through this stuff every day and just focus and go, yeah, I'm going to get through it. I'm allowed myself those days of not doing it, so I can experience and go back into it the next day in full vigor. Anyway, I use Wim Hof's app.
Okay.
Wim Hof breathing, because it's a powerful breathing method, and my mind is constantly moving. So I to be able to just meditation is difficult for me. However, the Wim Hof app breathing meditation method, because I can focus on the breathing very, very. That's all you focus on.
Right. Not
listening to words of anything else. So I can then zone out, and then once you zone out, I go into that sort of heady place of looking in
Get
your
into your right brain.
subconscious, and
Innovation, creation. Yeah. Okay.
and just waking up and thinking, right, I'm ready to start the day as a new day.
Clean. Nice. I'll go check that wind. How long would you do that? How long would you have that on the wind?
Well, I wake up at sort of approximately 6:30 in the mornings now. I still haven't done the old lay-in, maybe a couple of days. So I wake up and do sort of like 4 rounds of breathing, which are 2 minutes each, and then 2 minutes of holding your breath. Maybe 3 minutes. That's my target.
Okay.
moving to latter this week or next week. But 3 minutes of holding my breath with no breath in your lungs. You breathe in loads and loads. You hold the oxygen. So it's like pumping yourself up.
Yeah. Okay. It's like priming, isn't it? Like
it's like Tony Robbins priming, yes. But
yourself,
I find it's very methodical, and you get a chance to get your mind into a place of a nice chilled out sort of anyway, so that's my
for the day. That's your takeaway. All right. And little chat about the future, obviously. What do you see? What's important? What do you see coming? Obviously, I think it's going to be more difficult coming out of this scenario than it is going in. And the aftershock potentially going on for years. What do you see? I think coming full circle, the connection, the community is important right now. We're going to have to look out for each other now, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I think, in all honesty, I can't advise about the future because I'm not trying not to. I'm just not thinking too much into it because we don't know what's unfolding. Clubs won't be, maybe there'll be, but who's going to be confident enough to go into clubs, stand there for the foreseeable future?
Yes.
Look, so I'm just seeing what unfolds. Myself and my other half are sort of looking at other ways to help. Look, I think I'm going to be doing a lot more in the mental health world again.
Yeah.
I've put my CV out to a few organisations I used to work with. They're going to interview me, I think, at some point. I'm happy to do that work. I think there's going to be a lot of people needing help as we move forward.
I think so.
A time for people to reach out again and,
Yeah, it's that connection piece, isn't it? And it's just that listening. It doesn't need to have like a formalised agenda. It's just a case of, I'm okay, you're okay type thing. Just checking in.
Absolutely.
More of that. Yeah.
Keeping more, just keeping more in line with, helping people and not getting consumed into the rat race we were involved in before.
Yeah, there are opportunities here for sure. So, sort of closing up now, where can people find, they've enjoyed this, they want to find out more about, some of the work you've shared there. Where's the best place for people to connect with you, Brandon?
Well, look, my website's going to be up and running soon. I'm just in the process of building it at the moment. I haven't had one for many, many years. So these guys have very kindly just let me, start to build my website. So it'll be brandonblock.com. Also, Facebook pages, Brandon Block, Happy Days for Everyone. And if you want to tune in at 11 o'clock in the mornings, as you've done, we do our little tune up, which is a break in the day from the norm, just playing a few tunes with some old friends, DJs and music people. And you can get information there. I will be doing I do some coaching, but, again, if people are interested, they can find out on the website and at Happy Days. The app will be out soon. That's going to be something you can use. It's uniquely for Mind at the moment. And Mind Charity have taken the app, so they're going to be using that.
Brilliant. Okay.
And just gigs as and when they come out again will be involved. So I really appreciate your time, mate. Thank you for interviewing me.
Appreciate that. And one final piece for me is just to thank you. Thank you for your time. It's been great to connect. It's all happened very organically. Great to hear what you're up to. Very grateful for just to sharing your story, your openness, real man chat, and just sort of just talking about this stuff. I know if it reaches one guy out there and gets them moving in a new direction, then our work here will be done right. So much love, as I say. Consider you're a friend of the Men on Form for now and evermore. So dare say we can reconnect in the future, do this again, maybe a couple of years time, see where you're at. If we can help you, particularly with regards to sort of men and personal development, you know what we're up to, then by all means reach out, Brandon, anytime. Just shoot me a message.
Well, there is something which I again, because the mass gatherings are so sketchy now, there was some project which I was working on before. Anyway, look, so also I do run a Zoom group on a Friday. I forgot to enjoy with my friend Paul Byrne.
Okay.
Tuned Out, and it was originally at the Ministry of Town.
Yes. Yeah.
once a month, Ministry of Sound, where we have speakers and we have people sharing. And it's just a support group for people in originally it was in media or in the entertainment industry. And it's sort of stayed a bit like that, but we've opened up. It's not necessarily people in entertainment, it's just people who want to support themselves with sharing on a Friday afternoon. And we do that each week. People are well welcome. There's always those Zoom links which are available on my Facebook pages and Get Well Together and various stuff.
Cool.
So yeah, all good. That's another thing we've been doing. So yeah, fairly busy in that, in all honesty.
He does a lot of pretty busy man given we're on lockdown, but no, I massively appreciate your time. As I say, do stay in contact, and yeah, if you've got stuff you want us to cross-pollinate via the Men on Form channels, by all means do. Other than that, you're going to play us out.
I'm going to play you out. I will play you out. I'll give you a quick blast of
blast. And before you do,
he's
he's going for it. I've got one more thing to say. I'm going to say it, and then you're going to drop the tune, okay?
I'm going to drop some tune. This is a mate of mine, my partner, who I produce records with.
Brandon, hold fire.
Just done a little mix of something.
Hold fire. I've got one more thing to say, and then you drop the music. Ready?
Go on.
And that is, guys, if you're off form, get back on form. And if you're on form, stay on form. Do and be well all. Over to you, Brandon.
And I found out yesterday. Don't you know that I had to the grapevine? Not much more would you be mine? Oh, to the grapevine. Oh, I'm just about to lose my mind.
If you enjoyed the show, we invite you to leave a positive review on the platform you're listening on. If you'd like to get in contact with us regarding anything that came up in the episode, you can email us directly at menonform@gmail.com.